Special thanks to all of our sponsors, of course. They make esports happen, and you know, Speed Stick definitely a huge deal. So definitely, if you're looking for deodorant, check it out. But here's the game. Game number 2, Azubu Blaze versus Blackbean, and we'll see what kind of bans we see out of Blackbean. Diana has to go down though, because Ambition, he's one of the best Diana players in the world, and that would be a really scary pick to let him have.
I wouldn't actually be surprised if maybe Vladimir was a point of contention either. Of course, Azubu Blaze might actually be the ones banning that one out, although they do have first pick. If there is no Diana on the board in that second ban, I could kind of see it happening. Blackbean, we did mention earlier, likes to run that Vladimir in the mid lane, something they're very comfortable with, and we saw Azubu Blaze doing it in top lane phenomenally last game.
Yeah, and there's the Twisted Fate ban, also a really strong ban, you know, just kind of something that a lot of teams can really abuse, but we'll see what's coming in. I'm really curious to see what we're going to see out of Kunpunk, who's the new support swapping in for Blackbean, and it's kind of interesting to have subs. I mean, that's something that we've seen some in the past, but not really for a year or so. You know, as teams kind of solidify themselves, you tend to have your one, you know, player that you think is the best at their spot, but you know, if there's something unusual he brings to the table, that's what they're looking to do. They're looking to, you know, catch Azubu out of position, or you know, catch them by surprise in some way.
Well, that's one thing that Taipei Assassins actually do. They have a revolving cast. If you look at like the Leapedia page for Taipei Assassins, they have like 9 members, and they'll switch them out constantly during the Garena Pro League. So it kind of works out in their favor too, because they do have certain specialty champions, and it kind of brings a new element into the enemy team. You're like, well, who do we ban out now? We don't really know.
Yeah, and actually giving up the Diana. So Diana not banned and not first picked by Azubu Blaze, which is something we've seen a lot of this tournament. But Helios, his Olaf is incredible. His most played champion is Nocturne, but you know, so it could be a top lane Olaf as well. And I think he's potentially the strongest top lane in the game right now. I mean, his base damage and just general tankiness in team fights is really unbelievable. But Helios, when he plays Olaf in the jungle, it's actually when Azubu Blaze has gone for their fast pushing strategies, where they take all of the outer turrets in the first like 5 minutes to 10 minutes. And Olaf, the benefit there is he has that fast wave clearing ability, and then he can do a lot of damage to turrets with his W as well. And so that puts a lot of pressure on those lanes. So I'm curious to see what Blackbean's going to do to respond to that. They might need a couple of teleports on their team.
What we did also see in the previous game, he does very effectively counter jungle those more utility-based junglers. Malphite last game, now going for Skarner this game, they're not really known for their early ganks. They're known for map control, and they're known for, in the later game in team fights, providing utility, as well as going for GP10s and items like Shirelias and Randuin's Omen, and maybe even Aegis the Legion provide utility for team fights. Now you're picking up a Skarner again, that Olaf is going to be going into a jungle. It's a very scary proposition for Blackbean, because their jungler just completely got shut out from their early jungle by Olaf. He stole away the raids, he forced them out of lane, he went to take a red buff, it resulted in 2 kills for Azubu Blaze. It's just really, really scary that, well, that's a first pick, and then they went with the same kind of style jungler.
Yeah, and now they're getting the Diana in the second and third pick. And the previous game, yes, they weren't able to win that mid game, but still the quick burst of Diana, if she didn't fall behind early, then with an aggressive jungler, that actually could have worked out well for them, and it seemed to be one of the strengths of their team last game. But they let it up. They've played a lot of Skarner in the past. It's actually tends to be their favorite jungler because they like that quick pick-off potential, so we'll see where they're going with this. I think it's interesting. We're seeing some new ADs out of Lightnings, but like I said in the previous game, Graves has been his go-to in most situations, so you know, maybe he's a little bit more comfortable with it. Vayne not going on to Captain Jack, actually switching it up for Corki, and Corki, the early game that you can press is just so incredibly strong.
And the thing is too, with Vayne left on the table, potentially Blackbean could have taken that away in the next round of picks, and you don't want to be a Azubu Blaze taking Vayne early on, then getting countered out by a champion that could just abuse her early game or abuse her weak range like they are hovering over Caitlyn before. Now you see Lightning's picking up Graves, but you're playing Graves against Captain Jack, who prior just to this, during the summertime, was regarded as the best Graves in the world. How are you going to do that?
Yeah, no, that is going to be interesting, but you know, Captain Jack, he's moved on to greener pastures, and
like Corki.
Yeah, it's whichever champion you're comfortable with. That's the thing with Captain Jack with Graves, is that you have so much damage, but a lot of times the cool thing when Captain Jack was playing it, Graves is a short-range AD carry, and you always thought he was going to get himself out of position. You always thought he was going to, you know, get caught or go down in fights, and he seemingly never got caught. Like every single team fight, he's one of the best defensively positioning himself, and so he's able to always retreat. But Azubu, they have a really aggressive team. We've seen Flame play Jax in the past, so that's going to be a devastating top lane. I mean, particularly considering that Porshkub lost the previous matchup so, you know, significantly with Vladimir. But Jax and Aurelia, it is an even matchup. You know, it is a skill matchup though, so we'll see if Porshkub can make something happen.
it's one of those slugfests, and if Blackbean can put that aggression back on, Aurelia may be able to potentially trade a little bit earlier with Jax, at least until he gets that Grandmaster's Might and then starts evening things out a little bit more. 3 points in Heaton style around level 5. If Jax has either pushed the lane a little bit or Aurelia's taken a little bit of trade damage, Equilibrium Strike Stun, she might be able to turn that lane just in her favor off of that one trade. Leona, though, like you said, this is a composition that Blackbean kind of wishes they were running last game. An aggressive jungler, the assassin, Jax to dive in and a support to really go with it. We saw Evelynn being hovered over it. Now they're going to be switching up to Ahri in that mid lane against a Diana. How do you just feel about that?
Well, it's interesting. Ahri in general is just a really strong champion in most matchups. Like there's very few matchups, or actually no real matchups that Ahri just outright loses. But Ahri, she can get that lane harass against Diana. Diana, I think, will tend to be safe in that lane, but you know, Ahri definitely has some quick burst potential. But the big thing with the Ahri is later in teamfights has the mobility to kite away from Jax, Olaf, Diana, potentially, though Diana does have the double jump, so that gives her a lot of reach. But if they can keep Ahri alive longer in those fights and then keep their AD alive, then that could give them a chance in those fights. And Ahri is definitely a really aggressive early game champ. If they can pick up some early kills, she has that mobility in the mid lane where you can roam to some other lanes, try and snowball your lanes. But we'll see where they're going with this. It's definitely some interesting picks right now. Real quick, I want to give another shout out to championsselect.net. You know, they definitely, if you haven't checked out the site, they do some cool picks and bans where they show, you know, which champions you can play in which matchups, and we've seen a couple of them. They look pretty, you know, accurate in some, in a lot of situations. So definitely check that out for yourself. It's a very cool website.
I do believe there's also something else. Don't we have an app that you can watch this
Yes,
on?
we do have an app. It's an iPhone app. You can also get it on your browser. I actually have an Android, so unfortunately I can't use the iPhone app. But you can do it in your browser, and it's the same thing. It's just you get your streaming experience on your iPhone. You get to vote. You get to vote like down below 70-30 right now, 70% for Azubu Blaze. Wait a second, I thought this was going to swap.
No, I'm still pulling for Blackbean technically, so I wouldn't mind it swapping.
I think Blaze is supposed to be on my side. I want to win this game. But we'll see what's going on. But definitely vote for that, guys. Origin PC is being given away to whoever's going to win that situation.
Currently have a little bit of a block. Okay, we're loading in again. Just take it a second right there. I was getting worried for half a second.
No, we're good. We're
right,
good. We're just waiting a second. It is booting up right now, and we'll be able to see what they can do. No unusual summoners from either of these teams, but Azubu Blaze, we've seen in the past, they have a team that can really push lanes quickly. I mean, we've seen 15-minute inhibitors from them in the past, and that's in an even matchup against, a top Korean team. Now what's going to happen with, Blackbean, but Blackbean being a little bit more aggressive in this game. So they have Skarner. If he can hit 6, if they can just hold off until Skarner hits 6, maybe they can pick up some quick kills. Taric makes their bot lane a lot more aggressive, though I think that was probably in response to the Vayne. Now Vayne's out of there. Corki, I don't think is going to have an issue with the Taric. You just Valkyrie away. It's no big deal. So they should actually have an advantage in that bot lane once again for Azubu Blaze.
Not to mention, Corki's going to be dealing a majority of his early game damage in Magic. That Phosphorus Bomb, he can shred through the armor. That Taric's going to provide extra with that Shatter Aura. One of the things that Blackbean is actually doing here as well is they're running a more aggressive level 1 composition. Ahri has a charm, Taric has a stun, Aurelia has a potential slower stun, and Azubu Blaze is going to be careful here about that.
Well, they're walking in. Helios and Ambition, they're out ahead, and they're actually going to get caught. They're walking right into Blackbean. The quick damage, the stun as well. Can Blackbean get this? There's the first blood for Ahri. Porsche Cup does go down, but if they can turn this around, pick up a couple kills, this could be huge.
Insta running away. He is very low health, but Zero they're actually going to go through. Taric's going to pick up the kill on Diana. That's another kill for Blackbean. 3 kills being picked up now as Ahri takes it down so low, but she barely gets out of there.
Oh my god, and a 3-1 early lead with that level 1, just like you said, an aggressive level 1 comp, and Blackbean, they're in this. So 2 kills onto Ahri in particular. Ambition is insane, but that's going to help him now. The crowd is going wild for Blackbean right now, but that early lead is exactly what they needed.
Just don't sweat it, guys. Blackbean will handle it.
Oh boy, that's catchy. We're gonna have to remember that one. But
if only it was like a product placement for something.
Oh boy. But yeah, we'll see what Azubu can do now. Ambition, he's coming down for Helios, so Helios is gonna start with that red. They are getting the golems on Captain Jack and Listboy, and then a standard start. Now we're not seeing the same aggressive wards out of their team, but look at Zilra with those 2 kills, a Doran's Ring and 2 wards. So he has 2 wards in that mid lane. He's going to be perfectly safe, and that Doran's, it should allow him to just completely abuse Diana in that matchup now.
one of the things you have to keep an eye out for is in that level 1 engagement, Blaze did get away with Jax not dying and securing a kill for himself. So he's going to be entering the lane with Aurelia with only an assist with an extra item on our cloth armor.
Cloth.
So Jax is actually going to be able to abuse Aurelia even before that little even trade goes on that we were talking about during the picks and bans phase. So if Flame can snowball that top lane, Skarner's not going to be able to gank as effectively until he hits that level 6 and Impale. But by then, Jax could actually already have won that top lane matchup.
Yeah, that is a really scary thought that Jax can win that so quickly. And Helios, he's actually making his way in for a red steal, so he might try and get something in there. Lusboy, it seems they're actually fighting a little bit down bottom there. He actually misses his E, but Lightnings takes a lot of damage, and Helios at the red. Lightnings does go down in the bottom lane. The flash, Captain Jack picks it up. Tarek has to get out of there, but he's going to be low as well, so an early lead for that bot lane. And Helios actually scared out Skarner away from that red, so he left the red alone. Helios might go back in for a steal because Ambition, he's making his way up to protect him.
One of those things on that bottom lane fight was just that Lightnings was standing in the Gatling gun from Corki, taking all the extra damage and the armor shred going down. So unfortunately for Graze, didn't really wind up in the best position from that. Insta actually, Porshka's going to be coming down here, but Flame's chasing after as well, trying to get the Equilibrium strike down from the stun, but Helios and Ambition are also here. Jax is going to pick up the kill on Aurelia, but here comes that Fed Ahri, going to wind up picking up another kill, actually goes to Insta Skara. Double kill being picked up now as Olaf goes down. Can Flame turn this around? Cloth Armor doesn't work against magic damage.
He gets the charm.
Counter strike goes up, trying to live, trying to get a kill on Insta. I don't know if he's going to be able to do it.
He has his flash, though. He can get out of there. He gets the flash off and backs off. They don't have a flash to follow him. So Azubu Flame getting out of there. But a couple more kills on Zilra. Actually, a couple kills on Skarner. So they're both 2-0 and 3 in a really nice spot in that. Honestly, it'd be nice to get some kills on that bot lane, though, to try and counteract the Captain Jack and Lusboy's strength. But we'll see what they can do now. I mean, those are definitely some key pickups for Blackbean, because now if we see some movement together with Skarner and Ahri comboing and trying to gank lanes as a group, they should be able to win those early fights, which means Azubu Blaze could be put on the defensive in this game, though they are at a significant advantage in both top and bottom.
So the one thing is that Skarner, now that they've gotten some kills onto him, he secured his own jungle, he's going to be able to safely go through and hit level 6, potentially even quicker than he was going to in the first place. He still has that red buff available. You see, he's going to be taking that. Ahri as well, if she can hit level 6 faster than Ambition, Ahri is going to roam all over the place. If Skarner can go to one lane with Ahri support, especially that top lane, they could shut down that advantage Jax has.
But there's the dive in from Leona. They're chasing down Kung Pung. They're all very low. Captain Jackie backs off, and so they get the advantage in that lane. And Lusboy, he still has a lot of health, which means he can still be aggressive on that Leona pick. But we'll see how that lane continues to go. Lightning, he seems to be at a serious disadvantage right now against Captain Jack. I mean, it's really a struggle for him, but they get the stun on Tarek. They actually chase him down the exhaust as well. Both AD carries, so they have to back off. But in the meantime, Skarner, he's setting up for Flame up top. He has that double if he can get in there.
Insta just waiting for his opportunity. Porchka's pushing this lane a little bit, though. Jax is going to try to shove it back a little bit. There goes the trade going back and forth. Equilibrium strike goes off. There's the Blaze charge as well. Counter strike goes off. Insta, a little wait to react there. Porchka's in a little bit of a sticky situation here. Heaton strike has been activated. Is he going to get the slows down? Crystalline slash and the red buff, as well as Equilibrium strike. Now these lower gets the stun. Ignite taking away. Leads away to a ward, though. Flame might be safe, but there's the flash from Skarner. Insta's not going to let that up, and Porshka getting the kill. That's what he needed.
And you saw a lot of patience from Insta because he recognized Jax is a really difficult lane to gank. He could just throw off that counter-strike and then leap out of there, but because they actually waited and Aurelia baited out that counter-strike and also the leap strike, Helios, or Flame going a little bit too aggressive in that top lane, it allowed Skarner to follow it up. So a nice kill to turn that around, and we'll see what they can do with it. But it's still an uphill battle, even with a 1K gold lead for Blackbean, because any room that they give for Azubu Blaze, you know they're going to take it.
And taking a quick look at the CS scores across the board, even though they're up in kills right now, Blackbean's still down in CS. That bottom lane especially, 39-17, 27-34 in the mid lane. But surprisingly, the one lane they're winning in CS is the top lane, which we thought was struggling a little bit more.
Yeah, so Aurelia has actually done a decent job of farming in that lane, and now getting that kill, it helps to bring her even with Jax, even though Jax still has an advantage in that lane. But we'll see where they go. Skarner coming down, he has that Oracles, and that is so significant to get those early kills, so he can get that Oracles. The Valkyrie gets him out there. There's an award, goes down Insta. He has that map control now, and that is huge. If he can hold on to that Oracles, that could catapult them into a great map control game.
Blackbean actually going to be taking a very early drag in about 6.5 minutes. They're trying to force this one, though. If Azubu Blaze comes in to try to contest this, they might have to back off. They're not extremely very tanky right now.
Oh, but they catch out Zilria mid. He actually has to use his ultimate, but he does get out of there. But Diana's coming in as well. Helios only level 4. They can't defend this, but they back off, so they don't actually finish the dragon. It is still up, and they just back off. So a little bit concerned. Porshkub, he did come down. It allows him to get back to his lane and pushed up to his lane, so he doesn't have to actually fight Flame. So that's a benefit. But still, it would have been nice to grab that dragon.
It was a good job by Helios swinging around to try to see if they were doing dragon, or at least go to contest it knowing that they were, because he cut off Ahri in that circumstance. With the power of that Olaf and Diana, they forced not only the flash, but the burned ultimate. Without the ultimate, Blackbean didn't feel secure enough to really go into a team fight to contest that dragon.
Well, and that's the scary thing with Diana. Diana is out farming Ahri in the situation, even with all of the gold that Ahri has. And so Diana, because she has the double leap, you know, Ahri, she can chase Ahri, even with Ahri blinking away. So that can be kind of scary. And sometimes you can just force out the entire ultimate from Ahri. She can't use it in an offensive manner. But we'll see. It seems like even with the kills, that Ambition, he's kind of controlling that mid lane. He's farming confidently and pushing Zilria back into that turret.
Yeah, and we also see going for no magic mantle on the side of Ahri, potentially going to be turning that into maybe a chalice, or even going for Mercury Treads, just to not only reduce the damage that Diana is going to be putting out, but potentially the crowd control from the rest of Blaze in the later stages of the game. We'll have to see what that does evolve into. But going for those double Dorans for extra health, yeah, a little bit of ability power and mana regeneration, but Ahri's actually building fairly defensive. They receive picking up Mercury Treads, she's all defense.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. So she's kind of scared of, you know, Diana in that burst and wants to make sure she can live through those fights. But once again, Lightning being forced out, and that's a really scary bot lane for him to deal with. And Ambition coming up for the top. They can go for this dive underneath the turret. Flame, he's going to tank this for a second. There's the ignite, the dash in from Diana, the pullback. They pick up the kill.
And unfortunately, Aurelia had nowhere to go there, so that is, of course, going to snowball the lane a little bit more in favor of Jax. 2 kills, only 1 death, 1 kill and 3 deaths on the side of Aurelia. In addition to this, now Jax is coming to his own and taking that CS advantage back in the top.
Yeah, and that's something they can't allow Azubu Blaze to do right now, because their early gold lead has now dropped down. They do get another ward, insta clearing out the dragon. They will back off for a second, but
is that a fog horn?
it is a fog horn.
I like it.
But right now, I mean, they're just slowly losing that gold lead just to farm, and to be losing in the farm when you're ahead in kills is pretty significant for Blackbean right now.
It's also indicative of the fact that, yes, they got aggressive at level 1, yes, they are getting those kills, but they're still so timid in those lane matchups. When you have those kills advantages, you want to push it as far as you can, and you want to get aggressive on your lane opponents. Even Skarner right now, actually disadvantaged by 3 levels compared to Ambition in the mid lane there, backing off and letting him take that last hit on that one tiny wraith, because he just is scared of what they could do to him still.
Oh, and Ambition jumps actually onto a minion. He gets some quick damage on Zilria. Zilria returning a little bit, but a level advantage, and he actually jumps in. He could go for a kill. He doesn't have that one last dash. He actually does have it up. There's the flash. He ults in. Can't quite pick it up. He's taking the turret as well. Zilria trying to come in, trying to see if he can grab him. Can't quite get him.
That was just a little bit of a good play by both sides. Ambition forced the ultimate, so he didn't have that last charge to go back in after the tower dive. Unfortunately, he did have the one to survive still, so double wards being picked up in the bottom lane. That's very impressive. But still, Ahri being able to get out of that one alive, very thankful for that one. That's just the aggression that Blaze is putting on the Blackbean. Despite how far ahead Blackbean was in the early stage of the game, you can tell by the fact that Diana has a level advantage over Ahri, despite Ahri having more kills and assists than Diana does.
Yeah, it is really scary for Diana to be able to win that lane. Insta coming down. He does have his ultimate. He flashes, tries to get Captain Jack. There's the Valkyrie to get him out of there. There were some changes. He wasn't quite in range. The Leona ult, they're turning this around. Captain Jack, he takes that Oracles. He wears through him really quickly. There's the double exhaust. Lightning trying to pick up Captain Jack, though. That is a major win for them in that bottom lane to try and catch them up. And Lustboy, he's chasing down. He might just take him on by himself.
Yeah, as I said, it doesn't look like it's done yet, but Lustboy's going to back up. Meanwhile, top lane, we do see Porshkub taking a lot of trade damage from Azubu Blaze's Flame in top lane. So Jax coming into his own in that matchup. The item advantage, kill advantage, and now the CS advantage is culminating into the fact that Jax is going to out-bruise Aurelia in top lane.
And I'm kind of surprised that with those early kills, we didn't see a lot of mobility out of Blackbean. In some of the games that we saw in the group stage, they would group up as a team very early on, but they've been comfortable just sitting back in these lanes, and it's slowly been working against them. Diana and Skarner in particular, I thought that we would see them group up more, but it seems that Ambition's been having a little bit more control. He's waiting for Insta to come in. He has way too much damage right now. with that red buff he just stole, pulls him back, dives in. Jax is here as well. Insta is going to go down, but we'll see if they can force a fight. It's a 3v2 in that top. They have complete control of this jungle now.
And this is what Azubu Blaze did last game too. They just gained complete map dominance over Blackbean and ran amok because Blackbean just had no idea where they were going to be. They couldn't put wards down. Oracle's elixirs were clearing them all out. They were all over their own jungle. They couldn't even sit back and farm because of this. Now they're pushing down to the second top tower. They're going to have to try to defend it, but like you said, it's 2v3 up here.
Yeah, and they actually don't get much damage in that harass exchange, so they just back off easily. There wasn't that much of a threat with Ahri coming up. They weren't able to get the charm or, wear anyone down, but we'll see what Ahri can start to do, where she's going to go with her items, if she gets some really nice magic pen, maybe with like a Haunting Guise or something, but we'll see. She has a lot of options right now. Captain Jack in the bot just kind of hanging out right now, but there's Diana jumping in on Zora once again in the mid. We'll just wear her down with that red buff now and taking her down to half in one exchange.
That's just how far ahead Diana is. With the bottom lane, we see Graves once again taking a brunt of the damage from Captain Jack and Lustboy. Leona just getting the stun and the Zenith Blade down. Corky's just going to take pot shots from the back. He's still standing in that Gatling gun because he can't run away from the stun. Even if Tarek is going to stun Corky, gets that Gatling gun off, Graves is stuck in that Gatling gun fire. It's just going to shred away at his HP.
Well, and Captain Jack's been not been allowing him to get that passive up. Insta coming down. He has the oracles, or Helios has the oracles. They will throw off the undertow to try and get out of there, but there's the slow from Porshkov trying to get them in range.
And we do see, meanwhile, in the middle lane, Ahri getting extremely low from Diana. Back on bot lane, though. Kumquat's going to get stunned out. Ahri does fall in the middle lane. Now Tarek getting extremely low. Does want to pop the heal on himself to live. Flashes away from Leona's shield. That's going to secure him to live. Lightning is, in the meantime, going to pick up a kill on Helios. Leona going deep. Lustboy wants the kill. Is he going to get it? No! Taking tower shots. Turns around. Graves gets a double kill on Corky in the meantime. Lustboy abandoning his AD carry for the kill and didn't get either.
Is Flame maybe going to come in for this? No, he backs off, so they are pretty low, but they're able to actually come ahead in that exchange, or at least even in that exchange. But the big thing is getting Lightnings those kills. And we've seen actually Jax coming in behind Porshkov, maybe trying to see if he can catch someone out there. But for the most part, Corky, with his quick harass, he's been able to zone Graves, so Graves isn't able to get that passive. And you see in the lane, Lightnings, he actually has to all in order to actually deal any damage to Captain Jack. He's not able to win the harass. Jack is just in complete control there. But when they are forcing these fights, they're actually coming out ahead.
Yeah, almost doubling in the CS in the bottom lane. 104 compared to 65. Corky ahead of Graves. Lustboy there, he lusted after the support. That's basically what he did. He just followed her into the tower. Unfortunately, wasn't really able to wind up getting the kill, abandoned the team in that one. Had Azubu Blaze, done that smart kind of aggression in their team fights they did last game, they would have completely dominated Blackbean. But Stars in Lustboy's eyes kind of set the team apart. And we saw that if one piece of the Azubu Blaze machine isn't working, they just fall apart. Now Blackbean's able to secure this dragon. They can do that in these team fights, or at least pick someone off with a Skarner and an Ahri like they want to do before these team fights start. They might actually get at what makes Blaze tick. Yeah,
and like you said, Lustboy was lusting after it, but Captain Jack was as well. He pulled himself out of position, trying to Valkyrie and trying to pick up those last couple of kills, and as a result, he didn't have an escape route, and he wasn't actually getting very significant damage on most of those carries in that fight, so or on the side of that fight. But we'll see what they can do now. Lustboy, there's the ward, does drop. Skarner actually making his way back down bot. He does actually drop a ping himself to clear out a ward right above that turret, but we'll see where they're going and how they can try and pursue this.
We saw Captain Jack and Lustboy there, not even needing a pink ward to take out that ward. They killed it before it even settled. It's really in a really bad spot here. Has to pop the ultimate.
That is brutal. But like, he's so scared of Diana right now. He's just forced to use his ultimate.
That blue buff is taken away, though, so the ultimate's going to have a relatively short cooldown compared to what it used to be. Meanwhile, top lane, Porshka and Flame still going at it 1v1 up here. Really doing a relatively good job against Jazz, considering the level disadvantage and the item and farm disadvantage.
Ambition jumps once again on Zora, but he's going to be able to back off. But in the meantime, there's the stun from Tarek and the pullback from Skarner. They get some quick damage, but Captain Jack is destroying them. Leona all as well. Captain Jack picks up the first kill. Can he pick up the rest? This could be really scary. The exhaust is done. Insta, he's able to flash out there, but there's no way that Lightnings is going to get out.
No, Lightning's now trapped by Helios and Captain Jack. He's trying to run towards the tower, wanted to maybe deny himself, but Captain Jack going to get the shutdown regardless. Mid lane, we saw Flame coming in with Ambition, taking down Ahri, and now Azubu Blaze looking like the dominant force they were in game number 1 again.
Yeah, they forced Ahri back up in that top jungle, and then Flame, because he was pushed to that second turret, they were able to come down on him. So they have that mid turret, they have the bot turret as well, so the 3 outer turrets are down, and that is a 4K advantage. A lot of it from the lane farm and those objectives, even with those early early kills on Blackbean, but you know, they've shown in these team fights they have some quick burst potential. They have a lot of single target bursts. They have some nice AoE from Graves as well. So, you know, if they can grab some members of Azubu out of position, then they can maybe make something happen.
The thing is, too, you need to make sure you're careful with who you grab. You grab a Jax, well, that's not a good target. You grab a Diana, that's technically not the best target in the world, although it may be an easier target to pull than that Corki. But you need to have that backup damage, or you need to have the Charm or the Equilibrium Strike to slow them or stun them so they can't really get their full combo going on. So if you are able to melt down Diana before Azubu Blaze really is ready for the initiation, it's going to go very, very great for Blackbean. But if they survive, or if they aren't able to get the pulls and the crowd control on the right targets, then Azubu Blaze is just going to start slowly pulling ahead in these team fights due to their farm advantage.
And it's insane how strong Ambition is right now that he goes in, but there's Insta, he gets the red steal, and actually Ambition's in a dangerous spot here. There's the Charm, it does miss, but Ambition, he's so tanky, and Helios coming up as well. He gets the flash over the wall, but we'll see if he jumps back in to help Helios.
And he is going to get the Crescent Sweep once again over the wall. Ari coming back in with that last take of her ultimate, however, it just looks like everybody's going to force everyone else back. Kung Kung coming in now, they could get a stun down onto Olaf. Might not be the best thing in the world. He does actually not have that ultimate available, used it in that fight. Could have been able to turn on around him there, but that's once again just Blackbean all so low, also afraid of Azubu Blaze, and especially Flame, who's just waiting and lurking to jump in.
There's the Leona ultimate, the quick AoE, they burst them down, 1 kill, 2 kills, 3 kills. They're going to be able to take down this turret now, and this is going to be a really dangerous push for Azubu, but I was going to say, much like we saw in the previous game, Azubu not necessarily going in for all these kills in a lot of situations, they're just focusing on wearing down Blackbean so they can push him off the turret there, and you know, Diana in the previous fight, maybe she could have picked up a couple of kills, but she backed off for the moment. Actually, Flame jumping in, the quick burst on Zilra. Captain Jack, he is pulled by Insta, but he goes down anyway.
Yeah, and that's the thing, though. They just don't have enough members live right now. Blackbean, Tyra's going to revive, so there's no ace coming in here. However, Flame is going to jump in, get that double kill on Skarner. They take down the inhibitor turret. They're focusing on the inhibitor right now, and they're just so beefy. The farm has come out ahead. Diana went for a buff steal, and they just wound up catching Blackbean out of position because that melted everyone down extremely low, and that's just what happened there. Everyone was too low to defend, and they just pushed in.
Well, and it's scary with how tanky Diana is early on because he was able to take a lot of their aggression. You know, she just has great base stats, and getting the Negatron cloak as well, it was tough for them to take her down with those Doran's rings. So she was able to back off, but with the inhibitor down, that's going to make it very difficult for Blackbean to come back now. And it was pretty close for a significant portion of this game. They had the early advantage, but now it's jumped into a 9K gold lead.
And then just taking a look at the items they have across the board, Aurelia has a Phage compared to Jax, who has a Phage, he has a Sheen, and he has Ninja Tabby, Vampire Acceptor going back now to pick up his Sheen, almost completing his Trinity Force. Bloodthirster completed on Corki. Graves just has a BF sword to his name and a couple Doran's blades. Even looking at the supports, Oracle's Licks are just waiting to be activated to hunt down those wards that everybody loves. Double GP10s and Ninja Tabby. Look across the board. There's 2 GP10s and a Kindle Gem, but only level 1 boots and a couple wards to spare. So Azubu Blaze just dominating in every single aspect of the game after what looked like to be Blackbean dominating them in the early stages of the game.
Yeah, and Corki in particular, with all the damage that he has, as you had mentioned, the fact that there's not that many defensive items for Blackbean, he's just going to be able to tear through them in fights if they can't force an initiation onto him. So Blackbean, they really need Corki to be the target of that Skarner ult. They need to be able to pull him in and drop him really quickly. But the concern is, you look at the rest of Azubu Blaze, and they're all so strong in the late game. Olaf has really high base damage. Jax is insanely strong right now, 7-1, and then Diana as well. So, there's not really that great single target. They have a team that's built to just pick off one person, and they don't have the follow-up for the rest of them.
And it's really interesting to see how, well, first off, another ward going down there to the Oracle's Elixir on Lustboy, but that 1 kill on Flame in the beginning stage of the game, even though Azubu Blaze went 1 for 3, because it went on the top lane in that top lane matchup, it just completely snowballed that lane. It's one of the most furthest pushed lanes now. Diana taking out that secondary tower, so it matches up with that bottom lane. Jax 7-1-4 is really one of the driving forces behind this Azubu Blaze team. Aside from Corki, who's got 6 kills to his name as well.
There's Skarner with the ult, but Ari's coming in as well. Can they win this? This is their only hope. Diana's not actually there. Lightning, he has to back off, but Flame chasing him down is able to pick up that kill, but actually just backs off at the second. He does grab it with the Ignite, and now Diana's coming in. She's going to be able to clean up. There's 1 kill. The second kill potentially on Zyra backs off, and actually Porshkov in a dangerous spot now. Could be the sole survivor for Blackbean.
I thought it was going to be really, really good the way that Porsche came in and took out Captain Jack beforehand. There goes the ace from Azubu Blaze. They're all relatively low, but they should at least be able to. Well, they're not even going to. This is going to go straight for these Nexus towers. They have a super minion in that wave, and Blaze looking to actually end it right now.
Yeah, they will be able to take this. So this is going to be a 2-0 lead for Azubu Blaze, which means they are moving on into the second round of this losers bracket, and they're actually going to face against TSM. So TSM versus Azubu Blaze, that's going to be a pretty scary matchup for TSM. I think they're like 8-0. Blaze is 8-0 against them right now.
Look at Ambition just showing his moves on Diana as the Nexus is just dying, picking up 2 kills. Actually, Jack's taking that one away. Scumbag Jax. The third one goes down. Diana going to get the double kill. Leona's actually going to fall to Ari. I didn't really even see where Leona was at that point in time, but Ambition getting this shield.
He's still going for
damage. Oh, but the Nexus falls to the super minion before he can pick up any more kills, and OP.
GG Azubu Blaze, and you saw how strong they were at the end of that game with all of those carries. That as fed as they were, and the fact that they're really strong base damage and very tanky, Diana didn't even need to be with them. They could have fought that 4v5 and still come out ahead, but then Ambition coming in the end was able to clean up. But impressive play from Azubu Blaze. We'll see how they continue through the losers bracket. Like, that's going to be the really interesting thing to watch as this tournament progresses, if they can keep their composure and try and make their way out of it, because they have a long way to go. I think it's something like 9 games for them to get into that finals.
And like you said, it's going to be an interesting storyline. It's also going to be another interesting story to see Azubu Blaze now looking like they've got their composure, moving into the next round against TSM, who, in a story of themselves, they really haven't been looking in their peak form, but they haven't beaten a Korean team to date. They are 0-9 altogether, like you said. So it's going to be really, really cool to see. Can TSM finally take a game off the Koreans, and not only that, but knock them out of a tournament, which would be really, really amazing for them, because they would actually be able to put something positive on their record against these Korean teams? Or is Azubu Blaze going to continue super strong and literally blaze through the losers bracket?
Yeah, that is going to be an interesting thing to watch, but the scary thing is, okay, they're going to play TSM, but then they're going to have to deal with other people, dropping down to the losers bracket, like potentially, TPA or M5 or any number of these champions. But
M5 is already in the losers bracket.
M5 is already there, but Azubu Blaze walking over, shaking the hands of Blackbean. It was an interesting game.
How often do we say that? Besides any tournament besides IPL5, where you could say the losers bracket might contain TPA, Azubu Blaze, and Moscow 5?
Yeah, that's ridiculous. That's absolutely absurd for them to all be in that situation.
Well, we got a lot of awesome teams. We still have Cursey U in the winners bracket, as well as Fnatic. Yeah. There's lots of amazing teams out here. So guys, you're going to want to stay tuned and catch everything. Even if mom says you have to go out and buy your speed stick, don't sweat it. Handle it, because we got an iPhone app that you can take this on the go. Yeah, definitely. Get that iPhone app if you have an iPhone. Once again, I'd just like to thank everyone who is here, because it's an awesome venue. There's your cheers. I like it. Guys, it's a really cool event. We're really happy that you can be a part of this with us, and we're happy with everyone that's helped make it this way. Curse, Pluto in the background with the interviews, kicking awesome ass. Job. Like, everyone, just really cool. And so quick shout out to Curse and lolpro.com. If you need some guides, check that out. But IPL, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. IPL. But thanks once again, guys. It's really going to be a fun weekend. We have a lot of cool matches to go. It's an insane bracket, but we'll see what we can do going forward. And we're still going to have a lot more stuff on the main stage, too. I heard tell that we might have something else coming up for you guys, a bit of a bonus match, if that's Maybe. The way. We might have another game coming up shortly after the break, but we'll let you know, guys. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and then we'll be back right more with some more IPL5 action.